Hey, I'm Rora.
I'm Jane,
And we are Birds of Clay.
and we're here to talk all things Australian pottery and ceramic art.
So put your kettle on.
And let's have a chat. We would like to pay our respects to the traditional custodians on the lands on which this podcast is recorded. We acknowledge the rich history of art, craft, and storytelling that has been occurring for millennia, and acknowledge elders past, present, and country as provider, protector, and guide. Working with clay is intrinsically linked to country, and we would not be here without the care and connection that our First Nations peoples have shown for thousands of years on this continent we call Australia. Hello. So welcome to our first podcast. I guess the first thing we can talk about is why we're here and why we're doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Why are we here?
Good question. Look, we're both passionate nerds. We love clay. We both practice our art through the medium of clay. Mm-hmm. And we're here to discuss all things clay, talk to other makers, and hopefully build a community around clay.
I think we have that alike. No, we are alike in that way that we can talk anyone's ear off constantly about all things clay and just nerd out and realize when that other person isn't as into the conversation and checks out. But I never get that with you, so...
Yes, let's hope some other people enjoy this too.
Hopefully we're interesting.
Yeah. Look, I think also I've listened to a lot of podcasts, especially before I started my university study in ceramics. And because I found it very lonely in the studio, very lonely on my own. And so podcasts kind of became my community. So there's not much out in Australia for the ceramics community. So I think hopefully we can help combat some of that.
Yeah.
Lonely studio time.
Yeah, Australian makers, Australian ceramicists I find are really, really good at having an online presence through images and the work they show in galleries. But yeah, we are thin on, audio content. So we're here to fill the gap.
Fill the gap!
Yeah. And also just to make that ultimate podcast that we're always, I guess, searching for. I don't know about you, but I always feel like I'm on the hunt for the next good podcast that covers every aspect of clay, but haven't found it yet.
No, this is it.
This is it.
I think another thing that we're both very passionate about is that kind of intersection of art and craft. We both make functional work, but we also both are passionate about putting our work into the gallery and that interplay. So I think we really want to provide a podcast that kind of goes across the scope of craft and art, that intersection, but also different stages of makers. We're hoping to interview people who are just starting, people who are midway, and people who have been making for a very long time.
Yeah. So it does kind of feel like you live a double life doing both, like showing in galleries, making conceptual ceramic work, and, more of the production pottery side and the craft side. It's really strange, and it feels like you're kind of towing the line between both and dipping in and out of each practice. And something I'm trying to work towards is making that more of one practice and bringing them together a bit more, which, I think this podcast will definitely help with that.
Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess for our next topic is introducing ourselves a bit and about how we got into clay. So, Rora, would you like to go first? Tell us about your clay journey.
Okay, sure. Well, it all started, I enrolled in a Bachelor of Visual Arts. Well, no, initially I enrolled in a Bachelor of Secondary Education, thinking a way that I can viably do art every day is to be an art teacher in a high school, because for some reason I held myself back thinking I could never be an artist. I could never chase that dream. That lasted a semester, and I changed over into a Bachelor of Visual Arts because that's what I really wanted to do. And then second semester of 2017, we had a small introduction into the ceramic studio, which was great. I loved it ever since I pulled my first thing out of the kiln. That was it for me. It was like magic, alchemy, all in one. We did this little, which I think looking back was quite a difficult introduction to ceramics. So it was a slab building with porcelain. I think back now, and that's something I wouldn't even do now.
Oh, wow, that's classic.
Entering my 5th year doing clay, and I'm still scared of porcelain and slab building. They're the two biggest no's for me. But yeah, so just these little cylindrical vessels of different sizes, and they were very simple and really hard to make.
Beautiful though, I'm sure.
Yes, I still have them, and I will have them forever. And yes, so then I continued studying my bachelor in ceramics, and each year as you continue on, you kind of whittle down your studios, and I, by 3rd year, stuck in ceramics, and that was me. And I've just completed my honours, and yeah, just focusing and figuring out a clay life.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Did you do any ceramics at school?
Yeah, a little bit of hand building, but only a tiny unit on it, so nothing really too much.
Yeah. Yeah, and did you go straight from school into your bachelor?
No, I had 5 years, five out of high school and then into my bachelor.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Just doing cafe work and,
living a life.
Yep, making money, spending money. No ambition. Loved it.
Yeah, like that's good. That feels like me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me about you and how you got into clay.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm quite a bit older. I'm a mature woman. I'm now in my early 40s, so I've had quite a life already. And I've only just got into clay probably in the last 5 years. As a kid, though, I was an only child and I was really bored a lot. And my mum's a signwriter artist, so art was just kind of... Like, art was a natural part of our lives. Like, we'd go to galleries and we'd do things like that. And there were always craft projects at home. And Mum was always signwriting. So even though it was commercial art, it was always in my life. So, yeah, as a kid, I made lots of little sculptures out of Daz. I'm not sure if you know Daz.
No.
It's like air drying clay.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
It was like, I just loved that because, obviously we didn't have access to a kiln. So was obsessed with Daz. And then... yeah, kind of, I don't know, got through high school, got into photography, and so was really passionate about that. But that was back in the day before digital, and so it was a really expensive and hectic kind of art form. So kind of, and then I got politicized and got into environmental gear and left art to the side for a long time. And look, I've got a long story.
Oh, no, yeah, go for it.
And then I became a teacher, and then, I've worked with young people who have struggled in education, so that was my world for many years, for about 15, and then I just did a wheel class with my mum. We decided one Christmas, instead of giving gifts, just to both pay for each other's wheel class at our local pottery club, and Mum hated it and I loved it.
And it was the best gift you ever received.
Yes. And I got a bit obsessed. It was something about the wheel that I found was completely mindful. So, obviously working with young people, mindfulness was something we wanted to bring to the kids. And, we did those things where you put a piece of chocolate in your mouth and but being on the wheel, I was like, oh, this is mindfulness. And for someone who struggled a bit with mental health through my life, it just felt like the answer. So I was did that short workshop, became a member of our club, accessed the wheels through them and the kiln. That was a big journey. And then did a summer school workshop at our local university one summer, and then just fell in love with the studio there and the idea of doing more ceramics, and so I enrolled in a Bachelor of Creative Art and Community Wellbeing, kind of trying to bring together my passion for supporting people through mental health and also my love of ceramics. And I'm still in it. I'm only I've got a year to go. So, but yeah, in that time I've also started making functional work and selling it at the markets. And yeah, pretty messy story, but here I am.
Yeah. Messy mind, messy practice.
Yeah. Definitely self-taught though.
Yeah.
YouTube was a big help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really got obsessed with the theory of ceramics. I read everything I could possibly read, as Rora knows.
Yeah,
Total nerd.
We really have that in common.
Yeah.
We are just constantly consuming clay, anything clay. If we're not making, we're thinking about it, or we're talking about it, we're watching videos, or we're listening to people talk about it. It's just constant, or buying books, or going to ceramic shows that are on. I think that's, it's funny. So Jane and I have only known each other for how long?
Not long,
maybe
less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Properly.
Yeah,
maybe coming up to 12 months. And that's something I recognized in Jane straight away. I thought, whoa, this lady is as obsessed as me. Let's go.
I think that's why, because I've always thought, wouldn't it be great? There's so many awesome makers in Australia, and we've got a really unique place in Australia,
totally.
We've got thousands of years of connection with country, which is clay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just there's just no one really tapping into that.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do a podcast, but I was
I
need someone to bounce off. Yes. And then I met you, Rora.
Yes. And that's so funny when you mentioned kind of off the cuff, I'd love to do a podcast. I had been thinking the exact same thing. I would love to do a podcast one day about clay, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to do it alone. Well, yeah, no, I definitely couldn't.
We need each other to motivate to actually do it.
Yeah.
Because, it's hard on your own.
I think if we hadn't met and you hadn't said that we wouldn't be.
No.
Because even now it's something that we've just kept pushing back, thinking, life is just so busy right now. Let's do this in October. No, let's do this in December.
Yeah, December, the perfect month to start a podcast. Just on the Christmas market crazies. But anyway, I love it.
That's something else we have in common as well, is we are always doing something. Our hands are always in something. We're out helping someone else, working. Yeah, always just very, very busy.
And I think another thing which is great about us doing it together is we both suffer a lot from self-doubt.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like to just have that person that has got your back.
Yeah.
And that we can get through this together, and
Yeah.
And again, hopefully something we can provide through this podcast is building a little community that, can support each other, and when you open the kiln and everything's cracked.
Yeah.
Like yesterday.
Yay.
Yay.
So fun.
Yeah.
That's also, I wanted to mention, early when we met, I remember you asked me what my work was about, or what something was about. I can't remember specifically what. And I kind of mentioned a bit of mental health stuff. And I just saw this look in your face, and I knew immediately, I don't have to explain anything to this person. They just get it,
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, yeah. And I think that's another thing this podcast is, that mental health is something that we will talk about. And I was saying to my partner this morning, I don't think there's anyone who's really not struggling with that at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think, especially if you're creating your own business, anyone is, I think it's a really important topic, and the world's a bit of a crazy place, so let's focus on the nice things and discuss how we can help each other and get through. Yeah.
And maybe help the Australian ceramics community be a bit more connected.
Yeah. Sounds good.
In person.
Yeah.
Because we're really good at being connected online.
It's true. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, so I was thinking maybe another thing we could talk about is where you're at right now. So, Rora, tell us about your life in ceramics right now. What's your studio like? What's your practice like? Things like that.
Okay, so for the past 3 years, I would say beginning during COVID,
Oh, yes.
we had to figure out a way to make ceramics at home because all of a sudden we had no access to the university ceramics studio. And it was kind of every man for himself, or everyone take some clay home and see what you can do. So we borrowed. Oh, I should preface this. My mother also studied the Bachelor of Creative Arts, so we were studying at the same time during this period. So Mum and I borrowed a kick wheel that was just rusty old thing in the courtyard of the uni, and a couple of uni people came and dropped it off, which was great. And yeah, we found a space for it in our big family shed, which was full from bottom to the top with just, tools and wood and band stuff, because it was also Mum's band rehearsal space, and the mower lived in there and the whippersnipper, and it was crazy. So I made this tiny little square patch of floor that I could fit the kick wheel in, and I just started there, and that's where the studio began. And every pot made on that kick wheel had rust embedded
That's great.
into the walls of all the pots, and it was great. And it had no splash pan, so I got clay everywhere. Really fun and cramped and dusty and cobwebby space. And it's now transformed after a lot of elbow grease and convincing Mum that we didn't need to keep a lot of the things that were in there. It's now a fully functional pottery studio that I share with my mum and sister, and I have a little gas kiln. Alicia keys because she's on fire.
Oh, too good.
See, you got to name things. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby Dutch. So I'm currently making in my home studio, firing every week, selling at weekly markets, the same markets Jane attends. Yes, we're market buddies and uni buddies and real life buddies.
You go every week, though. I'm just like here and there at the market.
You're there every week at the moment.
Oh, yeah, that's because it's Christmas, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, work smart. And I've just finished my honours at the uni, so I'm just in the process of clearing out that studio space and bringing all my stuff home and finding room for it there. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your honours work?
Oh, yeah.
If you want to. It's too soon, hey? Too soon.
I'm not really mentally prepped. Okay, so it should be fresh in my mind because I had to write 2 applications about it last night. For my honours, with a focus on wheel thrown vessels, I was really interested in the way the wheel can quieten the mind and how it kind of unveils deeper knowledge about myself. I tend to really discover things when I'm throwing and kind of connect my emotions up and understand how I can kind of resolve things in life and resolve things within myself. And I wanted to have a focus on that in my honours to just kind of discover what processes lead to that discovery. And the resulting works, I made 14, 16, somewhere around there, large wheel thrown works that all kind of represented different emotions and trains of thought and discoveries that I made in the studio. And that's...
They're beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, they're kind of punk looking.
Yeah, they're great. And I think there's lots of levels to them, which is nice. They can exist just as purely beautiful vessels.
Yeah.
But knowing that story brings, depth to them.
Yeah.
You can
thank
check them
you.
out on Rora's Instagram.
Yeah, we both have Instagram. Mine is at Aurora_LL. And Jane's is...
What is mine? Jane on Pottery.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it's got dots between the Jane and the Orm and the Pottery.
Yeah, we'll
put them in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put them in the written
We're
part.
good at this.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at in my honours. And I applied for a couple of solo shows last night, so fingers crossed about that. Hopefully I get something for next year that I can show my work. And also did a shop update last night online. That was a lot of work. Just for functional things like mugs and stuff. But yeah, that's it. What about you, Jane?
I was like, you do a little bit of teaching.
Oh, yeah.
And you hold Raku days.
Yeah.
Like our fantastic Raku day a few weeks ago.
Honestly, I just feel like every aspect of my life is about clay, and sometimes it's hard to remember, other things.
You forget that not everyone does, like,
yeah.
Raku.
Yeah, that's just like, the fun weekend activity.
Yeah, that's what we do in our
An
spare
outdoor
time.
firing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please
Well, me.
tell me about you now.
Okay. I'm Jane. As I said before, I am got a year of my undergrad to go, which has been interesting. Just going from making mugs, basically mugs. It's all anyone ever wants is a mug, to then thinking about clay in a conceptual way. And I've worked in a lot of First Nations communities, so I'm still kind of interested in that interplay a bit, but I haven't really gone there yet. I've had some good conversations, but haven't. Yeah, there's a lot to think about because clay is mind. Oh, I'm getting deep now.
Oh,
I'm going all over the shop.
Go on, go
Okay.
deep.
But it's mind, it has an environmental impact. So there's all these things I'm kind of thinking of when I'm working conceptually. But I've also personally, and I think this is where we connect a bit, is I've had some, not that you've had health stuff, but I've had health stuff. And it's been a very emotional journey for me, my health journey. Especially women's health. It's a very big area that is underfunded and understood. That doesn't make sense. Misunderstood, yes. Misunderstood. And so I think probably the most powerful work I've made has been delving into those emotions and bringing the functional vessel into a conceptual space with uni. So that's been really good doing that. Also because I am interested in the wellbeing side of it, I have undertaken some placements at a mental health service provider with an art therapist, and I've also worked in a First Nations community at their local pottery, which have both been great experiences. I know I don't want to be a therapist, but I am still very interested in the power of clay in a therapeutic way and the power of clay to build community. So,
Love that.
yeah, they're things that I've been kind of exploring. I'm trying, because I've kind of am having a break from teaching, I'm trying not to, define too much where I'm going or where I'm at. I'm just in a stage of, allowing things to emerge. So have landed a few interesting jobs in gallery spaces. So I work in our local regional council-run gallery, and I also work as an installer in another local council. Doing things, making mugs at the moment for the Christmas markets. So, just really in that stage of play and discovery.
Yeah. And you've got to, I love that you're waiting for, whatever opportunities to cross your path.
Yeah.
I think you got to manifest that stuff.
Yeah. So I am going to do a residency in Japan. Just manifesting that right now. We had an arts and culture tour as part of uni earlier this year, which Rora, you did one too, didn't you?
Yeah. Japan for the win. Beautiful Japan.
I know. It just blew my mind. They went to a place called Shigaraki, which I just fell in love with. I actually felt homesick when I left, and I was there for like a day.
Yeah, you really connected.
Oh, big time. Yeah, there was something about it. I think it's just finding a whole town obsessed with clay like we are.
Oh,
and going...
stop. Stop it.
And, yeah, like, so doing a residency somewhere like that would be wonderful. It's kind of, I guess, the idea of residencies and meeting and people and places, and that has really made me go, yeah, an art practice is important. It's something I want to pursue rather than just continuing to do the kind of local farmers market selling functional work, is that I am really interested in an art practice as well. And I think there was part of me that felt it was very frivolous and a bit, I don't know what the right word is, but I always thought art.
Does it feel selfish?
Yeah,
almost?
yeah,
Like
selfish. Yeah. So I kind of felt that I wasn't contributing to the world if I just did my art. Like I wasn't.
But you know what though? The world needs art.
Yeah.
And particularly now I feel, you know, the world is a bit cracked up and in shambles, and everyone's kind of feeling the weight of that. And that is where art speaks and where art heals and where it's, I think, most needed. So, you know, something one of our uni lecturers said to me was, art is important and art precedes language. So it came to humans before language and words even did. So there is a, you know, it really speaks, you know, without using that word, speaks, because we made art before we spoke, I guess.
I know. Makes you go, damn, artist statements?
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to write them, no.
I know, doesn't the work just speak for itself?
But yeah, I think you're totally spot on, and there was an amazing talk, I think it was at your honours graduation, where the woman who presented said that art's one of the last safe places to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
In a world that we live in today that's so divisive and polarised views, and that art is ambiguous but can also bring up really complex ideas and depth and can allow us to explore them without fighting, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just something, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. I agree. Yeah, and I think that's where clay is also really beautiful, because whenever you're feeling something or kind of thinking about something and you're making it at the same time, you're then embedding those thoughts and feelings and little parts of yourself into the clay because it's so, you know, immediate and responsive, and
it's like, I always think you're creating, you and clay are kind of creating meaning together.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't make with clay. Oh wait, I said it once and it sounded really good. I bet you I won't be able to say it now. You collaborate with the clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really agree. And I mean, maybe it's just because I'm not a very good thrower yet. But sometimes...
Yes, you are.
No, but sometimes...
There's that negative self-talk. Yes.
But sometimes when you throw and you're like, this is going to be a vase, and you're like, oh no, it's not. The clay's telling you
I want to be a bowl.
Yeah, that's just bad throwing.
I always want to be a bowl.
I just want to be a lump of clay on the side of the wheel. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think clay has agency and energy, and I think...
For sure.
Yeah. We're getting pretty woo now.
Oh, we are.
But yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah, I agree. It's everything.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's us.
Yeah, that's us, and we did go a bit deep there, but I think it's good because we're, I guess, deep people, you know? We don't want to try and portray something we're not. So.
No, and I think it's a good taster of who we are and where we'll be. And I think this podcast is going to be really interesting. It'll evolve. Yeah. And I think we're interested in having, you know, those conversations about the nuts and bolts of ceramics, like about kilns, about, you know, vitrification, about glaze making and all the things. But I think we're also really interested in talking to other makers. And we've got a long list of people that we want to approach. To have some really good discussions about all the aspects of making.
And we're going to keep our practices, we're going to share a lot about our practices and, you know, remain quite open just about finances and, you know, how to make a studio from the ground up, and just kind of tell our stories in hopes that it will resonate with other people or maybe help some early career clay makers. And yeah, maybe some people will be inspired to go to uni and study ceramics. Who knows?
We're not being paid by the
Sponsor us. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed. You can find us on Instagram at birdsofclay_podcast. Please feel free to send us any questions or comments. And if you could leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on, that would be amazing. We'll see you next time.